Okay, so once you have a few minutes to finish drawing in the box letters, we are going to then erase any of the extra boxes or erase anywhere that your lines overlap and that whatever we don't need on the interior of the letter. So here's what mine looks like once it's all cleaned up with no extra lines in there. The next step that we're going to do is create a vanishing point. You want it to be a good ways away from your letters. If it's too close, things get a little bit complicated and things become much more foreshortened. So I'm going to move it away quite a bit. Now, creating the front face is our step 1, and that is what we have already done. So this is just like a cube in one-point perspective with the front face looking at you, except this time they are a little bit more complex. We've got more corners and more turns in them. So to move on to the second step, we're going to be taking each of our corners to the vanishing point, and there are 3 specific types of corners that you'll need to know. Every single corner as you walk around, I'll start here on the bottom of my J. If it's a corner that can go all the way to the vanishing point, you want to take it all the way to the vanishing point. This corner works the same way. And I'm going to walk my way just around that letter, looking at every corner. Now, I'll get to this corner here, and notice it ends up running into the letter E. So I will take it to the vanishing point, but stop it once it runs into something else. And I don't have to pick it back up and continue. That'll just make the drawing a little bit more confusing. So I'm going to keep walking around. That's the second type of line, is when it disappears behind something else. The third type of diminishing line is where you see a corner like this, where to get to the vanishing point, it has to go through the front face of the letter to get there. If that's the case, you will not draw those lines at all. So this next one will go until it runs into the other part of the letter. This corner goes through the front face, so I won't draw it. So does this one and this one. And this one I will see just a little snippet of it until it runs behind that other portion of my letter. And then that one I won't see at all. So following that rule, if it can go, take it all the way to the vanishing point. If it gets stuck, that's okay. Just stop it where it runs behind something else. But if it's a corner that runs through the front face, don't draw that at all. So I'm going to go ahead and very quickly do that to all of my other letters. And that's really all that I can draw for that letter E. Notice this corner is actually perfectly aligned with this line from the J, so I did not have to draw that line since it was already there. And that's both of my ends. Notice these would also be considered corners that you would need to look at depending on your perspective, but since they both fall to the right of my vanishing point, I actually end up not seeing those at all. But don't forget that corners like that count as well. So now if I move on to my A, and on letters like an A, the inside corners you will want to look at. However, all three of these happen to not be seen because they're going through the front face. But do look, because in certain circumstances you may see an interior line that will go for a short ways and then run into something else. So that's your second step.